Arc Omega, a complete overhaul of Arc as we know it, introducing new and fun things, such as dodos that can make tornadoes, dinosaurs that can summon black holes, and some that just ignore gravity.
That brother's floating in the air.
And my goal in this video is to complete the entirety of Arc Omega all in 100 days. Because how hard can this mod really be? Hey Dodo, how's it going, man? Come here, let me give you a big ol' knock. This is gonna be fun. And here we go, boys, day one of our new adventure. This time around, I am playing on the modded map, Amissa. A map that I have never played before, so this is gonna get fun real quick. Right away, I did the standard early game of Arc, which was getting some basic resources, and if you notice the little effect I have going on, Omega gives you the noob buff when you first spawn in, making the early game easier, if that's even possible in this game. Thankfully, the mod didn't lead me astray, and using my newfound powers, I got some standard equipment going and spotted a crafting galley. Now, I may not be the sharpest tool in the crayon box, but I assume this galley could possibly, maybe, perhaps, be good at crafting. I then spotted a new dino variant, a Gamma Fairy Oviraptor, and me being the upstanding citizen that I am, I threw some spears at the man's head and got its soul. Yeah, so in Omega, any dino you send to the afterlife, you get its soul and essence. In this case, I got some Gamma essence, since it was from a Gamma dino. I'll explain more about all the different tiers and the inner workings of Omega later, but for the time being, I continue to be a menace to society. Found a cove that I will live in for the rest of this video. Crafted myself an Omega workbench and some early game set tokens so I can get some early game armor pieces, and peacefully recruited some dodos into my tribe, because ya boy, he needs them eggs. I then tried picking a fight with this Delta Essence Lystro, which is a lucky variant. And the fun thing about lucky variants is that some of the variants, like Essence, can dodge attacks, which makes fighting them just a little annoying. But I am a very stubborn individual, and was eventually able to send this Lystro to the Shadow Realm. And as a reward, I got some gifted gauntlets, one of the many set pieces in Omega, and each set piece in Omega comes with its own perks and imbues. In this case, the gifted gauntlets make me attack and run real fast. In simpler terms, I am now the Flash, except I don't have a TV series, or comics, or famous. Dang it. So, moving on from my lack of success, I got a head start on growing some crops, because modded kibble always needs some kind of crop. Then I went around and bullied the local wildlife, picking my fights very carefully, making sure not to attack anything that could curb stomp me, and with all the cosmic souls I collected, which is a wild thing to say, I was able to make a warp bow. This early game bow pretty much makes me have aimbot, and as you can imagine, that's pretty good. I also made some Delta sedatives, which are used to make health potions and trank arrows. The only downside is that they take 5,000 years to craft. So to pass the time, I challenged this trike to a horn versus spear duel, and thanks to my incredible gamer skill, I was able to subdue the horned gentleman and started bullying this metal lystro, which is a resource variant. I know, real shocker, isn't it? And these variants will be very important later. I started off day 3 by making some behemoth stone gateways with the help of this multi-tool that I forgot to show me making. It only requires 3 resource souls, and for that price, this thing is incredibly good. I also made the kibble machine, which allows me to, well, make kibble. And finally got my first dodo egg. And this was absolutely massive because I can now tame any basic tier dino I want. And I already have an idea of what I want to tame. Just gotta get the 44 keratin first. So I went on a mini crusade, politely asking the locals to give me their keratin, and they were very generous. So generous that they gifted me a basic water burst PT. It's by no means a strong dino, but at least I'll have a safe way of getting around the map, because that noob buff doesn't last forever. Back at base, I was finally able to make the Pteranodon saddle, along with some basic elemental kibble, gave my winged friend its daily rations, and ladies and gentlemen, we have takeoff. With my new winged friend, I was able to farm some crystal that was right on top of my base, and tried to make the Omega egg collector, but I didn't have any paste. So I flew around trying to find some friendly neighborhood beavers. And this apparently upset the entire Theri population. Long story short, my bird and I got absorbed into a black hole, and as you can imagine, that didn't go well. And when trying to get back to base, I got removed from the premises by some very angry piranha. Right away, I tried getting my stuff back, and everything was going fine. Right until I got sent to the Shadow Realm by a piranha. Again. You know, I'm really starting to hate these things. Thankfully, I was able to come up with a big brain play, which involved making the Omega Raft. That way, I didn't have to go into the very dangerous water, which allowed me to grab my stuff and head back home. Back at base, I spent some time regrouping after, well, that. Then I finally made the Omega Egg Collector, which allows me to integrate any female egg layers to passively produce eggs. Then I made the CS Cryogun and started making some basic tier kibble, because in order to make the next tier of kibble, you have to have the previous version of that egg. So to start that whole process off, I knocked out this basic tier Pteranodon. This time around, it was a spectral variant. There's nothing too crazy about this variant. Only thing it does is turn your dino into Casper, which would have been really helpful because the Pteranodon ended up drowning. I am having so much fun right now. Thankfully, I was able to knock out this wood Pteranodon, and while searching for more basic dinos to tame, I spotted a loot dilo. As you could imagine, the loot variant gives you, well, loot upon defeat. And the higher the tier, the better loot you get. In this case, I managed to get some pretty decent loot. and things just kept getting better because I found a fairy pteranodon. I wasn't planning on using this boy for any fighting, I just needed something to help me tame more basic tier dinos, because there's still 4 more tiers of eggs I have to go through, so I can tame some elite tier dinos. And I want to get to that final tier as fast as possible. So after making some basic tier kibble, I tamed the fairy and zombie lystro, and now I have 2 basic groups done. Only 10 more left to go. Yay! Thankfully, the game seems to be taking it easy on me for the time being, and I was able to tame a breeding Moschops, a utility variant that I will never use. I started off day 5 by shoring up my base defenses, because I rather not get raided by some wandering degenerates.
I'm in danger!
Once I was done placing down my defenses, I wanted to make them fancy by giving them a Greek makeover courtesy of the Astraeus mod. The fun couldn't last too long though, so I made more basic kibble and more delta arrows, managed to convince a supernova trike to join my team with the promise of glory, which was a lie, because I just needed the eggs. But don't tell the trike that. Anyways, I spent the next few minutes knocking out more basic tier dinos that I forgot to record again, and once I finished taming them, I knocked out a few more basic variants, and now the only basic tiers left were unstable, utility, and nature. Feeling real good about my life right now. I tried picking a fight with some gifted warriors, and the less said about how that went, the better. Luckily, I have my trusty death recovery stone, and yes, I forgot to show that as well. Man, I'm such a professional. Thankfully, I did remember to record me knocking out this explosive dodo, and once it was tamed, I flew on over to the snow biome, cause I needed some oil. Thanks to my stack mod, I was able to carry several tons of freedom, and instead of flying back home, I decided to try a unconventional way of getting back to base. Actually, now I'll die here. At base, I was able to retrieve my stuff thanks to the magical stone, sent this intruder back to the Shadow Realm, and tried removing this trike from the premises, but little did I know that the trike was packing a Uno reverse card, and I was the one being removed from the premises. Gosh, this game is fun. So after respawning, I started making some electronics, claimed the soul of a gamma ray dodo, and then got humbled by a alpha tsunami lystro. Thankfully, my luck was starting to turn around, because I managed to find a thunderstorm Hesperornis, and after having a very civil conversation, I was able to tame this little menace, which means I only have 2 more basic variants left to go. So once I got back to base, I introduced these 2 Dilos to the art of spear throwing, harvested a very generous amount of silica pearls, tamed a utility variant, and then I got sent right back to the lobby by a endless reactive Rex with over 6 million health. Yeah, I'ma stay away from that one. Thankfully, I have the basic tier all done now, which means I can now start taming some Delta Dinos. But before I did any Delta taming, I wanted to find the elusive Farmer variant, because they have some pretty good abilities. But of course, this is Ark we're talking about, and we can't have anything fun. So once I did find a farming ant, the game sent a endless boogeyman ant to assassinate me. But thankfully, bolas exist, and I was able to safely tame the farming ant. Feeling real good about my life right now, I decided to do a little exploring because I never actually played on Amissa before, and my travels led me to a village where there were some crops left by the locals, and who am I to say no to some free stuff? Speaking of free stuff, I found this unattended beaver dam, and after claiming its cementing paste as my own, I finally got humbled by the game and was sent back home. Now, normally this wouldn't be an issue, but for some reason my death inventory stone wouldn't give me my items back, nor would the awesome teleporter that I forgot to show me making again. This was bad because I keep failing at this whole recording thing, and I also kind of need my stuff. So now I had to run all the way across the map and get my stuff back without being deleted from the server. Dead. Hyenodons! Well, that ended horribly. Clearly running my way back isn't going to work, so instead I made a crossbow and some delta arrows, hoping to find any kind of basic flyer to tame, but sadly I just couldn't do it. So back to square one I go, which means I need to tame another pteranodon, and would you look at that? A crafting pteranodon just so happens to be right by my base. Now the only thing left to do was to get some keratin, and not having that ascended ethereal spear really hurts. But eventually I was able to claim its keratin, then I tamed another Delta Pteranodon as a insurance policy, and fought a turtle that just ignores gravity.
My brother's floating in the air.
Back at base, I was able to make another PT saddle, and straight away flew on over to where I got sent to the Shadow Realm, hoping that my stuff was still there, and this was a terrible idea, because my Delta PT got into a fight with some roided out bugs, and, well, it didn't end well. So, in the span of 2 days, I somehow managed to lose 2 flyers. Thankfully, I still had my Delta crafting PT, and at this point, I'm pretty much done with finding my stuff. It's gone. It's never coming back. And this turned out to be the right decision, because I found a farmer PT right away, and once I got back home, I made 1 utility kibble and 100 Delta sedatives, because I kind of lost everything I had. And as the sun set, I was able to tame the Farmer PT. On the way back to base, I bullied this crystal dilo because it looked at me funny, harvested several tons of metal, and after taking the expressway back home, I got my Farmer Pteranodon all set up for his 9 to 1,000 hour shift, and started taming some Delta tier dinos, so that I can eventually get into the Gamma tier. And things were off to a pretty good start. Only problem is that my soul supply was starting to run a little low. Thankfully, bolas exist, and pteranodons having less defense than a Cheeto. And while flying around looking for more Delta egg layers, I spotted my first unique dino, Scooby. What makes unique dinos so, well, unique is that unlike regular dinos, they have 2 variants. Unfortunately for the gravity-defying trike, I had my sights set on a different unique dino, so I ignored my flying friend. Then I tried picking a fight with a Moschops, and spoiler alert, I got obliterated by its friend. You know, at least I'm making my way through the Delta tier, so I can't be too mad right now. The only thing that I'm starting to worry about is my ability to fight stronger dinos, because every time I try to fight one, I get immediately assaulted by like 50 other dinos. So I spend some time flying around looking for any strong flyer to tame, and during my travels, I kept getting reminded how physically inferior I am. So I went back to taming more Delta dinos, keeping a lookout for any strong Delta tames. And while searching, I did manage to find several strong dinos, just none that I could tame. That was until I found a max level Delta Singularity PT. And as you can see, these boys strong. So after getting my stuff back, I made some unstable kibble. Then I flew on over to my knockout friend, and this is when the game reminded me that this is Ark I'm playing, and I can't have nice things, and now I'm down to just one flyer. Gosh, I'm having so much fun. Thankfully, I was able to knock out the Rampage PT. Then I got sent right to the Shadow Realm, and had to wait on the respawn timer. Is it too late to play Minecraft yet? Once I finally respawned, I made sure to make several more beds. Then I knocked out a Delta Resilient PT, tamed the Rampage one, teleported back home to make some Guardian kibble, and tame another PT. Then I flew on over to my Cosmic friend, and because of its innate ability to summon in black holes, I had to keep my distance when knocking it out. But once it was knocked out, I returned home to make some cosmic kibble, started laying down a foundation of my base, and tamed my first cosmic dino. And this boy is strong. Does it feel good to have a strong dino or what? And as long as I pick my battles very carefully, I should be all good. There was a tornado. What? Why was there a okay. Now I'm down to no flyer. Okay, so I'm going to have to rethink this whole PT strategy because, well, that. They're just too squishy, and I need a dino with some really good health. So after enlisting the services of my Earthburst PT, I made some gamma arrows and knocked out a Delta Cloner PT. Then I made my way to the snow biome because I wanted to tame a Argentavis. They're a lot tankier than the squishy PTs, and Ark seemed to approve of my plan by giving me a Delta Spiritual Argy. Spiritual is a ethereal variant, and while it doesn't have any offensive abilities, what it does do is make your dino go real fast. And having a fast bird sounds like a real fun thing to have. So I shot this man with 50 arrows right to the dome, knocked out a Delta Vampire PT for egg-laying purposes, bullied this Lystro for a soul. Man, that's a wild thing to say. Anyways, once I was done making more Delta kibble, I gave the PTs their daily rations and tamed my new flyer. Unfortunately, I needed more keratin before I could make it saddle, and because of Amissa's anti-trilobite policy, I had to wage a crusade against the turtle population, and these boys are tanks. Like, this man just took 20 spears to the head, and it doesn't even faze him. Eventually, though, I was able to slay the walking tank, and after lodging 50 spears into this stego's frontal lobe, I got a magic charm drop, and these are going to be very important later. Back at base, I was finally able to make the RG saddle, and it feels so good to finally have a strong dino. And thanks to it being a spiritual RG, The man is extremely fast, and also has infinite weight. Things were finally going my way, like getting revenge on the tsunami Moschops that terrorized me a few days ago. Taming a meltdown Lystro, and harvest all the crystal I will ever need. This also means I can carry way more stone and wood, which is huge because for the base I want to build, I'm going to need a lot of resources. And this whole base project took up most of day 12 because I want to build a actual base that's not just a slab of stone. This continued into day 13 because I am very slow when it comes to building, and I might have underestimated just how big my base was going to be, and how many resources I was going to need. So I went to go farm more stone for my base, and at this point I stopped recording because it was getting a little boring, but during this time, the game sent a alpha fire ant to assault my bird and I didn't record what happened, but here is a brief demonstration. So yeah, I kind of lost my spiritual Argy, which as you can imagine was super depressing. It was my strongest and fastest dino, and with its passing, I am now back to square one. Yay! Well, I can't change anything now. Only thing I can do is continue to tame more Delta Dinos and try to find another strong flyer. Well, that was fun. Back at base, I started waging a one-man crusade against all resource dinos. And step 1 of my master plan is getting a ton of resource souls when I'm not getting sent to the Shadow Realm. And once I was back home, I made the Resource Collector. This bad boy functions pretty much the same as the Omega Egg Collector, but instead of using female egg layers, it uses resource dinos to produce, well, resources. For example, a Gamma Stone Parasaur would produce a good amount of stone. The only problem is that I needed some prime meat to make the kibble. So instead, I knocked out this Delta Wood Parasaur in a very ethical way. Then I kind of just turned my brain off and flew around for a little while, tamed the Wood Parasaur, and almost lost it due to a controlled Triceratops trying to lead my friend right into the jaws of a very hungry Rex. Thankfully, I was able to save my wooden friend, and after some exploring, I tamed a Delta Cosmic Parasaur. The tame did cost me most of my arrows and my sanity because during this time I stopped recording because I'm so good at YouTube, and during this time I got deleted from the server. Amazing! Back at base, I made a fridge because I don't want my food spoiling, and started bullying this here Parasaur because I needed more prime meat. And I don't know if I said this yet, but I really miss my old spear. It took me almost 5 minutes for me to send this Parasaur to the afterlife, but it was worth it because I now had all the prime meat I needed to make some Gamma Kibble, and after taming this Delta Cosmic Parasaur I knocked out earlier, I have now completed the Delta tier. This means I can now finally start taming some Gamma variants, but that also means that I need to get a stronger dino. And it just so happens that I already have a strong one in mind, a unique ant named Solar. Solar is probably one of the more broken dinos in Omega, due to it being a Starfire and Meteor variant, and with ants being one of the more common 7 dinos on the map, there's a good chance that one is already on the map. But after spending 10 minutes of searching, I might have underestimated just how rare these uniques are. Thankfully, resource dinos are nowhere near as rare, and I also might have kind of lied about finishing the Delta tier, because as it turns out, I still needed a Delta Nature variant. So after knocking out this Iguanodon and leaving him to hydrate in peace, I did some 3/6 no-scopes on this Delta Tracker PT, and after feeding my new friends their daily rations, I tried knocking out this stone Parasaur, but I didn't have the necessary health, and I was also kind of freezing out in the desert during the day. Gosh, this game is incredible. So, ignoring that, I continued searching for a less tanky resource dino, which led me to a Gamma Stone Ant. And for such a small dino, this whole taming process almost took 10 minutes, because I had to lure away its associates, dodge black holes, and honestly, things were going pretty good. Okay, take 2. Just gotta teleport back, knock it out, and try not to get deleted. What is this? Okay, new plan. Fly back, knock it out, feed it kibble, and get out of there. Back at base, I farmed more narco berries to make even more narcotics. And after spending a few minutes trying to find any strong dino to tame, I found the answer to all my problems. A Gamma Tornado RG. So after lodging 50 arrows into this man's forehead, I informed this Carno that its free trial of life has expired, and ladies and gentlemen, say hello to my new friend. It may not be the epitome of speed like my last Stargy, but this boy is strong. Now, as long as no alpha fire ants try to RKO me, this bird will help me farm a ton of souls, and help me tame some gamma egg layers, so I can get into the beta tier. Back at base, my resource collector was producing a good amount of stone. Still going to need a lot more for my base, but it's a start. So while waiting for more stone, I waged a one-man war against the locals and fought a elite control Parasaur that forgot how to fight back. This crusade of bullying the locals continued into day 17, because making kibble requires a ton of essence, and I'm gonna need a lot of it. Back at base, I made most of the gamma kibble I'll need to complete the tier, committed several acts of ethical violence, started knocking out and taming some gamma dinos, and began the construction of my base. My idea was to go for a Roman-style building in this small cave, because for all of my videos, I never build anything outside of a slab of stone or a wooden shack. So it is time for everybody's favorite part of the video, the building montage. Whoo, baby! Now that is huge. For those of you who are a little confused, Paragon Souls are a drop in this mod that increases your dino stats by 100%. They can also be used to rank up your dino's tier in the Soul Grinder. So, for example, if I had a PT Paragon Soul, I could increase its rank from Delta tier all the way to Elite tier. Now, obviously, I'm nowhere near that stage yet, because, well, I'm poor, but it's something to look forward to. Another thing to look forward to is finishing this base, but I might have just underestimated how much stone I actually need. So to fix this minor inconvenience, I tamed a gamma reactive Lystro, and then it got jumped by a pack of degenerates. Thanks, game. So to get some payback, I sent this Parasaur to the Shadow Realm, and as the sun set on day 20, I picked a fight with a Soul Scream tribe. So the way NPCs work in this mod is that each group represents a certain armor set. And the higher tier they are, the better loot you get. So what I'm trying to say is that this isn't going to be easy. Get off me. No, 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 no. Frickin' run. How did that miss? Whoo! Now that was stressful. Thank you, health potions. For my efforts, I got a real good piece of Soul Scream armor and a unique ethereal spear, which as you can see is pretty busted. So to celebrate this glorious achievement, I knocked out and tamed a Gamma Meltdown PT and knocked out a Crafting PT in the Crossfire. Then I just continued to be a menace to all dinos, tamed even more Gamma Dinos because I want to get to the Elite tier as fast as possible. Once it was nighttime, I finally tamed the last Gamma Dino I needed to complete the tier. That was until my game crashed, and I had to re-tame another resource dino. Fun times. Well, at least I'm on to the beta tier now, and to make things even better, I tamed a metal carbo so I can start getting metal passively. Then I showed this cursed monkey who really runs this arc, and as a reward, I got some armor pieces that had curses on them. The way curses work in this mod is by, well, cursing items that already have imbues. If you're still confused, I'll explain it more later, but for now, I just continue to fly around the snow biome, found this Gamma Farmer Direwolf, shot 50,000 arrows right into its nostrils, and integrated more resource dinos into the collector. I also got a set medallion, which gives me the abilities of one of the many armor pieces in this mod, without actually having to wear it. So with that explanation out of the way, I continue to work on my very large base, and this whole process took up all of day 23 because this is my first time not building a square in this game, but by the end of day 23 my base was completed, and I gotta say, I think I did a good job. Probably could have done it a little better, but I'm happy with the way it turned out. The only part that was annoying is moving all of my stuff around so it's not right in the middle of my base. But once it was all done, I started making more alpha sedatives, and thanks to my crafting PT, this took no time at all. Next thing I needed was a better way to gather berries, so I enlisted the services of this Delta Trike, and now my problems with gathering narco berries are over. Back at base, I used all the narco berries I farmed to make 800 narcotics, and I also made several set tokens because I wanted to get a full set of gifted or soul scream armor, and I also just wanted to get all of the armor sets before day 100. So using these wooden mannequins, I was able to get a head start on my armor collection. Then I started waging a one-man and one-bird crusade, because as I said before, I need solar. I also started taming more beta egg layers, and things were off to a great start. Problem was that most of the kibble now requires long grass, and I kind of don't have enough kibble for my snake friend. So while waiting for nature to do its thing, I finally stopped being lazy and finished the greenhouse. And once I had enough corn, I made enough guardian kibble to tame the very tanky snake. Then I knocked out and tamed a beta frenzy PT, bullied more ants for not being solar, hoping to get a scroll for some paragon or stat potions. Shockingly, my plan didn't work at all. So instead, I knocked out this beta dimorph and ethically recruited more dinos to join my team. Back at base, I organized the many souls I've been collecting. And I don't know when I did this, but apparently I tamed a giant bee. Now, before you get mad, you really didn't miss much, because in order to tame a giant bee in Omega, all you need to do is a standard knockout tame. Another cool thing they can do is passively produce honey in their inventory, so I just left the little guy to do his thing and escorted this Pearl Carbo off the premises. I started off day 26 by terrorizing the ant population, and I think it's safe to say that I'm slowly becoming public enemy #1. All you have to do is give me solar game, and the crimes stop. Well, actually, that's a lie, cause I still need quest scrolls. Back at base, I made myself a net gun, which, well, fires very large nets at my enemies. Then I went right back to committing even more crimes against the ant population. Day 27 started off with me almost losing my RG thanks to a very angry boy. Thankfully, I had my trusty health potions and was able to deal with the flying miscreant and continued my search for more beta egg layers. I also still need to find solar because at this point I committed way too many crimes against Ark to stop now. So after knocking out this beta singularity PT, I crafted more Omega structures, such as the Omega Compactor and also the Omega Compressor, which, well, compresses souls. I also made some beta cosmic kibble and tested out my first beta cosmic dino, and this boy was a machine. So for the rest of day 27, I just flew around and tried to find the very elusive solar and sent random dinos to the Shadow Realm. Since things were going so well, I decided to stop recording and just went around being a menace to society, and Ark must have been tired of my shenanigans because I got deleted from the server along with my newly tamed PT that lasted only 1 day. Well, that was a fun experiment. Back at base, I integrated all the beta dinos I tamed into the egg collector. Then I hit some 360 no-scopes on a pygmy dimorph, gave it 500 calories of kibble, and continued to tame more beta tier dinos, which led me to find the answer to all of my problems: dragons. Now this is going to help me progress so much faster in this mod. All I have to do is find a good tier dragon that I can actually tame, of course, and things are going to get real interesting. And on the glorious day 29, Ark finally decided to throw me a bone in the form of a Gamma Supernova Fire Wyvern. Now this is what I've been searching for. So after teleporting back home, I got to work making more knockout arrows and started sniping my fiery friend. Surprisingly, the wyvern didn't really appreciate me shooting at it. And long story short, I got turned into a well-done survivor. So after getting my stuff back, thanks to this slab of stone, I made sure to fly really high up before shooting more arrows. And eventually, I was able to knock out my winged friend. Wasting no time at all, I teleported back home to make some cosmic kibble, fed the wyvern 50,000 calories of kibble, and now I can finally start making some real progress. Because after 30 days of constantly being afraid of fighting anything with a pulse, it just feels so good to be powerful. And should anything happen to my dragon friend, I can always bring it back to life with the Reliquary. This is a new addition into Omega that allows you to keep your tames even if they, well, perish, with the only downside being that it loses a tier. So in conclusion, I can be a little less stressed about losing any future tames. So after farming more narco berries and stem berries, I crafted a modest amount of stimulant and using the soul furnace along with some unstable water, I was able to make some veggie cakes. Now, I may not be the sharpest tool in the crayon box, but using unstable water to cook food doesn't sound healthy. Well, as long as there's no witnesses to the crime, then can you really consider it a crime? Well, actually, yeah, you can consider it a crime. Anyways, I spent the rest of day 30 being a menace to society, taming more beta dinos, and got a unique version of the warp bow. Long story short, I pretty much have super aimbot now, so taming dinos is no longer an issue. And if I somehow manage to beat some gravity NPCs, I can get a stronger version of this. That's all for the future though, because right now I need to restock on my arrow supply, and once I had enough arrows, I decided to launch a aerial assault on these beta soul scream warriors, because I wanted a better unique ethereal spear, and it's not like they were using it. So let the battle begin. Oh! Alright, we're gonna do a drive-by. Stop being stunned! Okay. That was stressful, but entirely worth it, because those imbues and that unique ethereal spear are looking real nice right now. Heck, I was feeling so good, I tracked down another Soul Scream group and got even more good loot. Feeling just a tad merciful, I decided to give the NPC warriors a little mercy and turned my attention to this Gamma loot dino, and the loot was not bad at all. I started off day 32 by testing out my new unique destiny, and while it's not the greatest projectile weapon, when you get up close and personal, this thing is a monster. Unfortunately, I am a very squishy human, and very prone to being sent to the Shadow Realm. Back at base, I stored away some of my more useless items in the imbue bench, and for a brief explanation, the way it works is by using essence to imbue items with random status effects, and the higher tier essence, the better imbues you can get. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. So after that brief explanation, I went back to waging a one-man crusade against all the filthy heathens, got escorted from the desert by a very angry dragon. Then I bullied some gifted warriors, so I can start my gifted armor collection. Then I challenged some Olympian warriors to a 1v20 duel. And if I didn't have my handy-dandy health potions, my dragon and I would be looking very well done. For my reward, I got a real nice Olympian chestplate, and then clubbed this pearl microraptor 5,000 times till it went to sleep, gave it some rations, and went right back to looking for Solar. Day 33 started off with me taming more alpha variants to complete the tier, and so I can potentially tame any alpha unique I come across, because in order to tame uniques, you need every egg of that tier. One thing that would help in taming uniques is having a better bow, so I hunted down some gravity NPCs, because they drop unique warp bows, but fighting them is a little tricky because they do a ton of torpor. This entire fight pretty much resembled a Tom and Jerry skit of my dragon and I just doing some flybys and trying not to take a 1,000-year nap. Thankfully, my unnamed dragon is a certified unit, and also my many wake-up potions. I was able to claim my prize of a real good bow. I was so overjoyed that I spread my happiness all the way across the map, especially to this island that was home to many crabs. Back at base, I made several more veggie cakes and hunted down a beta supernova direwolf. Only problem was that his friends weren't exactly on board with that idea, so I had to place them in a mandatory timeout. Once I fed the direwolf its daily rations, I bullied this beta loot dino for more goodies. Then I went back to base, made more beta and alpha kibble, and checked to see what variants I have left to complete the alpha tier. And yeah, I still need a lot more. Awesome. So it's time to get back to taming more alpha dinos. Oh my gosh, I finally found it, and it only took me 34 days to find it. Now, some of you might think that Solar doesn't look all that impressive, but buddy, you haven't seen anything yet. So once I teleported back home, I integrated all my alpha dinos into the egg collector, knocked out and tamed a beta starfire parasaur, and was able to make one beta unique kibble. And this right here just changed this game so much, because look at how much damage I can do already, and as you can see, I can make this boy so much stronger. Another way I can make Solar stronger is by getting some quests. So I started another crusade against all flying ants, and returned home because I wanted to make the Soul Grinder. Unfortunately, I am a little low on funds right now, so I had to do some things that were a little unethical. but it's for a worthy cause. While hunting down more elite essence, I kept trying to get as many quest scrolls as I could, and during this crusade, I was able to get my first victory over a Apex tier dino. What's special about these tiers is that they have a chance to drop some pretty good loot, and a variant soul that can be used to summon in certain bosses. If you're still confused, I'll explain it more later, but for now, I just continued to hunt down elite dinos and bullied the local inhabitants. And once I was back home, I was finally able to make the soul grinder, but I didn't have the funds to make the alpha token. Story of my life right there. So, in defeat, I had to hunt down some alphas and ethically remove them from the server. And once I had enough alpha essence that I ethically collected, I tracked down a alpha loot jerboa because I wanted, well, loot, especially a good saddle so that I could give it to Solar. And in a truly shocking twist of fate, I didn't get a good saddle, but I did get some alpha potions. So, positives? Back at base, I was finally able to make the alpha token, which I used to upgrade Solar to the alpha tier, and this is only the beginning, because I can get this man so many Paragon levels. So to kick off my crusade for more Paragon levels, I started waging a crusade against the locals of the map, and bullied this Diplo for more elite essence. Day 37 started off with me challenging this elite loot Microraptor to a 1v1 duel, and getting this legendary spear was such a blessing. For my efforts, I got some real good loot, and back at base, I started mass crafting unique kibble, because Solar is very picky with his food and will only accept the finest of kibble. I also used the imbue bench to imbue elite essence into some of my saddles, and those stats are not bad. So now that Solar has gotten his saddle upgrade, I went back out and continued my crusade against all the degenerates of the map, which got Solar his first Paragon level, which now means Solar deals double the damage and also has double the health. Feeling real good about my life, I decided to go on my 5th crusade in this video, trying to get more quests for Paragon and stat potions, and I was getting a ton of drops. None of them were anything I needed, but I can turn these useless items into fragments. The way you get fragments is by first making a item fragmenter, and once grinded down, you get either magic, set, or unique fragments. So using my newly acquired magic fragments, I tried re-rolling the stats on this magic charm, trying to get more magic find, which increases the chances of more dynamic drops. But just like most of my plans in this game, it ended in pure failure. So I went back out and tried to get more quest scrolls, and while I didn't get a single Paragon quest, I did manage to get a Mastercraft Affinity Medallion, and as you can see, they are pretty busted. Back at base, I finally crafted an industrial cooker. Then I checked in on my quest progress and noticed that I actually completed some of them already, which gave me some stat potions. Unfortunately, only 2 of those stat potions were any use to me, but any increase in stats is better than nothing. Back at base, I grinded up more items into fragments, stored away all them souls I've been collecting, and tried to imbue this unique reflect shield, but it somehow glitched out and lost all of its, well, uniqueness. Moving on from that, I was able to use the set fragments to upgrade my Soul Scream shirt and get some really good imbues. So feeling on top of the world right now, Solar and I went back to committing more crimes against Ark, and this time around, things took a different turn. And I finally met my match against some Olympian warriors, and Solar ended up perishing. Thankfully, this isn't as bad as it could be, because I was able to get Solar back thanks to the reliquary, but the only problem is that he went back to beta tier, and I don't have any Paragon souls to turn into tokens, nor do I have any quest scrolls for more Paragons. So my only option now is to try to get a quest scroll for Ant Paragon souls. This is gonna be fun. Oh my gosh, look at all the... Aha! Bugs. Give me a quest. Burn, we're having a cook strike tonight. Drone, Paragon. I'm sure I read that right. There's no way. I have no idea where I am going. I was told this cave had overspawns. You cheeky.
No, don't do it.
I got a quest. Crap. Stat potion. I needed Paragon Soul. Oh, wow, look at this.
Oh yeah!
Finally, Solar is back to Alpha tier. Took me a little longer than what I would like, but we did it. Now the only thing I have to do is get this man to Elite tier, and as I showed before, I do have a quest for Ant Paragon souls, but I rather not talk about how many dinos I have to send to the Shadow Realm. So I just returned home and pulled a big brain play and crafted a decent amount of flak helmets and imbued them with some beta essence, because once I grinded down all these helmets, I got a good amount of magic fragments. I needed more because I'm trying to get some good imbues on this flak helmet, but like most of my plans, it ended in pure failure. So Solar and I went back out on another crusade against the locals. And I forgot to show you guys this, but Solar is now at 7 Paragon levels and a modest 550k health. Day 45 started off with me living dangerously by picking a fight with these elite Soul Scream warriors and absolutely wrecking them. Feeling real good about my life, I decided to take things a little extreme and try my hand at fighting some Apex warriors. This time around, things didn't go as smoothly because these boys do some damage. thankfully I have plenty of medical brews, so I was able to send these degenerates back to the loading screen and get some good Soul Scream armor. Once I was back home, I tried getting some magic find on any armor piece, but all I got was depression. So I went back to the Redwoods and continued my mission in becoming public enemy number 1 to all dinos, especially for these two direwolves, after Solar and I completely destroyed them and claimed their soul. That's still a wild thing to say, even after spending 46 days in this mod. What's also wild is how I am now able to bully prime tier dinos and warriors. Does anyone remember when I was getting bullied by some piranha in that little river? Ah, those were the memories. Moving on from memory lane, I was able to find myself a chest, so I teleported back and was rewarded with a Leoplorodon Paragon soul. It wasn't anything I needed, but I'm sure I can find some use for it. Back at base, I started filling up my set pieces. Then I went back into the vast wilderness, trying to finally get a quest that won't take me 500 years to complete, and was rewarded with a legendary destiny from this very generous Parasaur. And as you can see, this is a very strong weapon. So in celebration, I returned home, imbued some essence into several flak helmets to get some magic fragments, and tried once again to get a good magic find stat, but all I got was complete trash. In brighter news, I was able to make the Omega Beacon, which allows me to break into the mid-game of this mod. But before I did any kind of boss fighting, I spent the remainder of day 47 tracking down some gifted warriors, so I can get as many unique fragments as I could, because I need them lucky souls. I was also completing some quest where I needed to end some dino subscription to life on foot, and once I was done being a straight menace, I returned home, grinded up more loot for fragments and souls, placed down the Omega Beacon, and started doing some research on what kind of team I want to assemble for when I fight the endgame bosses, and that's what led me to the Yetis. Or more specifically, its unique variant, Ether Snow, an Absorbent and Paragon variant. What makes that combo so broken is not only does it get the insane health boost from the Absorbent variant, it also gets 80% damage reduction from being a Paragon variant. So, if I can somehow get the furry gentleman to spawn in, that would be huge. But for the time being, I just continued my crusade against any and all gifted warriors. Then I went back to being public enemy number 1 to all dinos, and started fighting some lucky bosses. My first opponent was a treasure boss, and the special thing about this variant and the Paragon variant is that both of them have some serious damage reduction. However, its damage reduction decreases the more damage you deal. So after clicking my mouse 5,000 times, I was finally able to defeat the treasure boss, which gave me a treasure buff that helps me find treasure chests. Unfortunately, that's not what I needed right now. So I slapped more souls into the beacon and got a soul boss. Just like my previous fight, this wasn't difficult at all. If anything, it was just mind-numbingly boring. And I'm starting to think that I might have to invest just a little more time into getting Solar some extra Paragon levels. So Inferna and I went back out and hunted down every flying ant in existence, hoping to get a quest that gives me Paragon souls, but sadly I got nothing, so I returned home to see if I could get some better magic find, and well, Now that is what I'm talking about. 55% magic find is actually insane. And that's not even the highest we can go, because with this curse idol, we can, well, curse the charm and have a chance of multiplying a random imbue by 3 times. The only downside being that it costs around 216 soul shards, which you get from grinding up the soul variant drops. And I already had a good amount stockpiled, but I still needed a lot more. So I just went back to hunting down more quests, bullied some defender NPCs, and once I was back home, I grinded up more items for resources, farmed a modest 40k fiber, and made some Mastercraft saddles, so I can imbue them and hopefully get some good stats. And I actually got some pretty good imbues, but I really wanted more damage reduction. It's whatever though, because in a rare show of mercy, Ark decided to reward my eternal struggles with a unique PT, Bolt. Now, it may not be the most powerful dino out there, but it is faster than Solar, so at least I can have a good travel mount. So after turning my new friend into Beta Bolt, I continued my never-ending crusade to get one quest that gives me a Soldier Paragon Soul that doesn't take me 5,000 years to complete. My new charm is definitely helping in getting drops. Now if only it could prevent me from getting mugged by some winged degenerates. Back at base, I continued to re-roll the stats on my Soul Scream armor, but got nothing good. So I went back to quest hunting once again, and kept getting everything else but a quest for just one Soldier Paragon. I would really prefer more, but all I need is just one game. Oh my gosh, I finally got it, and it only took me 5 days to find it. A quest that I can actually do. Still gonna take me a decent bit to complete. So I teleported to the snow biome and spent all of day 52 being a menace to society, for the sole purpose of completing a single quest. I also knocked out and tamed a elite mammoth, continued to be a straight menace, and on the morning of day 53, I completed the quest, got my Paragon Souls, and upgraded Solar to Elite tier. To celebrate this glorious achievement, I made myself a chemistry bench to help speed up production of narcotics and stimulant, and was able to get a extra 2 Paragon levels onto Solar. So, now that Solar hits like a runaway semi-truck, but this is not the end. We can go so much further, and that's achieved by fighting some cosmic beacon bosses. And that's because whenever you defeat a beacon boss, they drop a boss soul, and when placed inside the Omega beacon, it summons in a master boss, a stronger version of that beacon boss. So after putting in a few hundred cosmic souls, I was able to summon in a meteor boss, and once I sent it straight to the Shadow Realm, I fed it to Solar, and now it's in the Prime tier, with a casual 7 million health. Now, you may think that's a little crazy, but buddy, you've seen nothing yet, because we can go even further by using this Starfire Boss Soul to summon in a Master Starfire Boss, and this one seemed to be a little offensively deficient, so I was able to claim my prize and feed the soul right to Solar, and And now Solar is a Apex tier dino with 14 million health. I continued my boss fighting crusade into day 54, and luck was on my side today because I got a treasure boss with a miracle variant. This was huge because miracle variants, when, well, perishing, they have a chance to give a random server-wide miracle. So after clicking my mouse 10,000 times, I was able to send this boss right to the Shadow Realm. Then I summoned in another miracle boss, and after 20 minutes of thrilling gameplay, eventually I was able to defeat this tanky specimen and got some real nice loot. So ignoring the extreme pain my hand's in right now, I fought another Gamma Lucky boss, but the boss preferred aerial combat instead, so I summoned in a boss arena to keep this boy contained, and sent this boss right back to the lobby. Back at base, I imbued some flak leggings with some prime essence, and went right back to hunting down gifted warriors for those lucky swords. The start of day 55 was a glorious start because I got a legendary multi-tool that gives me a extra 100% magic find. So yeah, things are looking pretty good. At base, I stored away the many souls I collected, and also grinded up all the variant souls I've collected, and I am so close to being able to curse my magic charm. Just need a few more soul shards, so I went back to being a menace to society, trying to complete more quests so I can get more Paragon souls and stat potions. So once I was done with that, I returned to base, grinded up more variant and master souls, and made the Omega Altar, which pretty much allows me to summon in the endgame bosses, or more specifically, the current endgame bosses. And before you say anything, viewer at home, I am still too weak to fight them. So in the meantime, I continue to fight more lucky bosses, trying to get more miracles and some good loot. One thing that helps speed things up is this unique phantom that has the ability to apply curse debuffs, which allows me to deal some extra damage if I can't actually hit the dino. But eventually I was able to slay the very annoying boss, and the rewards were not bad. So I returned home and I finally had enough soul shards to curse my magic charm, and that magic find is stupidly insane. Well, I guess I don't need to worry about magic find now. So to celebrate this glorious achievement, I fought more cosmic bosses along with a Gamma Miracle boss sprinkled in. Then I went right back to the snow biome again, because I really need Ether Snow to finally spawn in. Day 58 was more of the same as Day 57, just going around and being a menace to society, getting some good loot on the side, and still not getting a unique Yeti. And at this point, I'm starting to wonder if this is some kind of elaborate joke by the mod dev, because I have not seen one single unique Yeti, and I've seen plenty of uniques. I know they exist, I just haven't seen you. On the brighter side though, I did get another legendary weapon. This time around, it was a legendary phantom that has some real nice imbues. So once I was back home, I stored away all my valuables, grinded up more items for souls and resources, and this is when I noticed that I actually got 2 pieces of Midas gear, which is a mid-game armor set that when fully combined is pretty OP. And the way you get these mid-game armor pieces is by defeating lucky bosses and, well, getting lucky. And with that explanation out of the way, I returned to the snow biome and hunted down more Yetis. Because I'm desperate, okay? I really need ether snow. Because I will not rest until I get it. No matter how much I lose my mind. Day 60 started off just doing the same thing as day 59. Just flying around hunting down every Yeti for the crimes of not being a unique. And tamed a beta absorbent Yeti. My search for ether snow continued into day 61, and just like all my other attempts at finding this stupid unique Yeti, the only thing I found was depression. Back at base, I went through to see what affinity medallions I had for soldier ants, since I may or may not have lost my really good one, and fought more lucky bosses. And after right-clicking my mouse for 5 hours, I fought another cosmic beacon and master boss, so I can fight my first group master. But in order to do that, I needed more cosmic souls, so I returned to everybody's favorite place, the snow biome. Right? Because everybody loves searching for a rare dino that will probably never spawn in. Anyways, I spent the next 10 minutes causing mayhem across the entire tri-state area, trying to get a unique Yeti to spawn in, and failing miserably. So I teleported back home and started fighting more cosmic bosses. And finally getting a singularity boss that I sent to the Shadow Realm. Which means that I have every soul I need to summon in my first group master. But before I did any more boss fighting, I wanted to see if I can get Solar just a little stronger. So I flew around trying to complete more Paragon quests, and reminded these gifted warriors where they stand on the food chain. Back at base, I tried getting some better stats on my Midas gauntlets, and those are not bad at all. And after that brief sense of joy, I went right back to reminding the local wildlife who really runs this arc, trying to get just one unique Yeti to spawn in. All I need is one, game. Just one. And while I still haven't found one unique Yeti yet, I did collect a ton of loot drops that can be turned into a lot of fragments. So once I returned home, I started crafting a ton of saddles, imbued them with the finest of essence, and tamed a Delta Absorbent Mammoth. Then I launched a crusade against all mammoth kind, trying to get as many quests as I can for more Paragon and stat potions. I also have a ton of mammoth Paragon souls from my very ethical activities, and was able to get my mammoth to elite tier. Then I fed it all of my stat potions, and now my furry friend is sitting at 6 million health. The fun doesn't stop there though, because after fighting some guardian bosses, I was able to get the mammoth's health to 16 million. I also found out that if I'm wearing 3 pieces of Eclipse armor, I can use my legendary phantom during the day, which makes fighting bosses so much easier. However, I still wanted to get my mammoth to ultimate tier, and in order to do that, I had to hunt down some guardian NPCs, and after having a very civil conversation, I got enough unique shields to grind into Guardian Souls, summoned in more Guardian bosses, and once again did not get a single absorbent boss. However, there was one silver lining though, and that was me being able to open a hoarder chest and getting some real nice loot. Back at base, I grinded up all the loot I would never use, And at this point, the sheer amount of fragments I have is kind of dumb. I was also slowly completing more of the early game armor sets, and things were looking pretty good. But I can't get too distracted, so I went back into the blue zone to remove this Paragon Mammoth from existence, and spent the rest of day 66 just flying around with Solar, hunting down more Guardian NPCs, and trying to get Solar more Paragon levels. During this time, I was also completing more quests for more Mammoth Paragons, and now my Mammoth is sitting around 28 million health. Then I went back to fighting more Guardian bosses, and was finally able to get a Absorbent boss. This means that once I slay its master version, I would have all the Master Souls needed to summon in my first group master. So once I was done negotiating with these fine gentlemen, I placed all the souls in the Omega altar and let the show begin. It's a giant... Alright, let him have it. 3 curses. I mean, this is going good. I just gotta be really careful. Alright, we should have our first... Whoo! Now that was fun. Nothing like a nice and easy boss, and hopefully the rest of the bosses are just like this. Please? Anyways, now that I had my first Guardian Soul, I was able to feed it straight to my Mammoth, and now it's sitting at 59 million health. Don't get me wrong, it's a good start, but I need so much more. So I teleported to the snow biome and started a crusade against all mammoth kind, trying to get as many Paragon levels as I could. This crusade continued into day 68, and for a team that's primary role is being a tank of tanks, it does some pretty good damage. The only thing I'm missing now is a cursed saddle that either has a lucky or resource variant, and I'll be set. So I just continue to be a upstanding member of society, and that continued all the way into day 69. Back at base, I continue to finish my armor set collection, grinding up a ton of set pieces and turn some of my more useless items into a ton of fragments. So to celebrate my newfound riches, I challenged this fairy mini-boss to a duel, and this man was a tank. And that's all thanks to it being a fairy variant, which pretty much gives it Wolverine levels of healing. And in order to even keep up with that healing, I had to keep jumping off my mount and applying debuffs. So after 20 minutes of non-stop clicking, I was able to defeat prehistoric Wolverine and got nothing. Well, that was a waste of time, and with nothing else really to do, I spent the rest of the day being a model citizen, completing more quests along the way, and had a nice conversation with these snowy gentlemen. Back at base, I grinded up more useless items and made the Gauntlet Beacon. This allows me to summon in more bosses than the standard beacon, so after depositing a modest amount of cosmic souls and sending the bosses back to the loading screen, I then quickly got sent to the Shadow Realm as well. But thankfully, Solar is a absolute tank, and we were able to remove this man from the premises. Then I teleported to my boss fighting arena, uploaded each Cosmic Master Soul, and it's time to fight the Cosmic Group Master. Pop the Omega Potion. Come on. Oh my god! Well, that was fast. Those curse debuffs are actually stupid because look how fast I melted that man. And for my reward, Solar is now a ultimate tier dino and has 80 million health. So with that boost in power, the only logical thing to do is to get even stronger, and one way to accomplish that is by getting a unique comp free. A potion and frenzy variant. What makes that combo so broken is that potion dinos are able to passively feed you and your dino's health potions, and frenzy gives you a buff that increases your damage and attack speed. So for the next 15 minutes, I just flew around trying to find a single unique compy and found nothing like usual. So I returned home, grinded up more items, and checked to see what boss tributes I needed for the beta dragon, because there is a certain tech engram that I want. So after finding a artifact cave, I walked right into the very safe portal, and this place was honestly amazing. Say what you want to say about the map, but I really like this different take on artifact caves. But even if it looks visually different, it still has plenty of dinos. And this time, they're modded, which makes doing caves 50 times more difficult. But after some perseverance, I was finally able to grab both artifacts and move on to the next cave. This one held the artifact of the strong, and unlike its counterpart on the island, this cave wasn't negative 1,000 degrees Celsius. Instead, it only has modded dinos that sole purpose in life is to deplete my will to play this game. Honestly, it got so bad that I just got tired of doing this cave legit and used Solar to complete the rest of the cave. Back at base, I looked up what artifacts I still needed and teleported to the red zone because, boys, we going exploring. Now, in total, there was a grand total of 2 pyramids that I had to explore, and I gotta say, the map maker did a real good job with the whole haunted, abandoned pyramid vibe. I guess you could say it looks like my YouTube analytics. Gosh, that was horrible. Anyways, it took me a little longer than what I would like to admit, but I did eventually find the artifact, and now there was only one more artifact left. And this is when the game decided to do a little bit of trolling, because I spent well over 20 minutes running around this entire pyramid. I was so desperate that I actually just teleported to where it was, and as you can clearly see, I ran right by it before, it just wasn't loaded in. But after relogging, I was able to collect my final artifact. Now the only thing I have to do is get some tributes, and the locals were more than thrilled to help me with this diplomatic endeavor. So once I was done getting the last tribute from this very generous Yudi, I clicked the big ol' summon button, and let's do this. Come down, heathen. I'll take this like a champ. Ow. Alright, let's get this over with. Hey, friend. Well, that was anticlimactic. To be fair, I am riding a very modded and very tanky dino, but that fire damage is pretty crazy. But it was entirely worth it, because once I was back home, I was able to make the tech replicator, converted it to a CS version, and made the tech transmitter. So now that I have 2 ways of tracking down dinos, what better way to celebrate this than by fighting some beta lucky bosses? And I gotta say, this Eclipse armor combo is a lifesaver, because being able to curse bosses during the day saves so much time, and things continue to go my way because I got another Midas set piece, and now the only thing I'm missing is boots. At base, I did some reorganizing of all the loot I've been collecting, and using these two unique tokens, I tried my hand at summoning in Ether Snow, but just like most of my plans, it ended in pure failure. So I teleported back home, grabbed all my lucky souls, and started summoning in some prime beacon bosses. And I'll be the first to say, these boys hit real hard. I mean, I was kind of expecting it since they are prime tier, but man do they do some damage. But as long as I monitor my health and keep my health potions going, I should be all good. Oh! Well, that's bad. Why do I never take my own advice? Why? Thankfully, I can get Solar back, but the only downside is that I have to refight the Cosmic Group Master. So after going through the Cosmic Gauntlet, I was finally able to defeat the Cosmic Group Master, and Solar is back to Ultimate Tier. And it was at this point that the game decided to throw a little curveball at me, and as a result, my game crashed and I lost all of my progress. Yay! So I spent the rest of day 75 tracking down some Gravity Warriors, grinding up items for Gravity Souls, fighting more Beacon bosses, finally getting a Supernova boss, fighting some Cosmic Masters, and finally defeating another Cosmic Group boss. Man, I am having so much fun. So once that was done, I spent the rest of day 76 hunting down all Yetis in existence, trying to get a unique Yeti to finally spawn in, and completing some quests for more Mammoth stat potions. Day 77 continued the trend of trying to find Ether Snow and failing miserably. I mean, at this point, if I say that I am the unluckiest Ark player to has ever played this game, would I be far off? Because at this point, this is absurd. Oh look, it's day 78. Can you guess what I was doing? Yep. I'm still looking. But eventually, I did end up taking a break for my own sanity and tried to get some better stats on my Midas gear because I wanted to make this armor as strong as possible. Still missing the legs though, so I went back into the vast wilderness and ethically acquired some black pearls. So once I was back at base, I was able to make the tech force field, which adds an extra layer of protection for my teleporter and also myself, just in case things go wrong. Which is very likely because I decided to fight my first lucky master. Why are you doing so much? Ow, 27 million. Why do you do so much damage? Summon in the light of the Lord. I'm not even focusing on the amount of health it has. I'm just focused on pouring out damage. Come on. Okay, that was painful. Not only because it almost took me a whole day to beat it, but because of how bad my finger hurts right now. So in defeat, I summoned in a Prime Miracle Master, and this went so much better. Don't get me wrong, it was still a massive pain, but at least it didn't have 17 billion health. Back at base, I imbued one of my leftover saddles with some Apex Essence, and just look at that movement speed boost. That is insane. So to celebrate my good fortune, I farmed more stim berries, made more stimulant, and went right back to hunting down ether snow. And if you're a person thinking, wow, this is getting a little repetitive, well, my friend, you're not alone. Day 81 started off with me fighting yet another prime lucky boss, but something tells me that I'm not going to win this fight. So instead of doing that, I decided to do another mind-numbing activity, which is searching for ether snow. Yay! Just cue the montage. We'll go beta. A loot treasure. Oh, there we go. That's what we wanted. That's what we wanted. Come on. Legendary! Oh!
What the hell?
Oh, get back here, you little heathen. Oh, you're a frog. Well, that's bad. Yeah, this is why I have a problem with Omega boss summoning. Like, why? Why can't it be a frog and do so much torpor? Why? So, now I have to get Solar back to Ultimate Tier for like the 20th time in this video. And to make matters even worse, I don't have enough souls to fight the Master. And my current boss fighting arena is currently being occupied by a very angry boss. So I placed a Omega Beacon a few yards away from my base, summoned in several cosmic bosses to get their master souls, and summoned in the cosmic group boss. Oh, come on! Okay, let's do that one more time. Get Master Souls, summon in Group Master, send it to the Shadow Realm, and we're back. Well, at least I know that if I see any boss in frog form, I am leaving. Thankfully, my next boss wasn't a super frog, and I was able to get some pretty decent loot. So with that good luck, I summoned in a Prime Loot Master, which ended up being a Hesperornis that couldn't attack back. so I pretty much got the freest boss kill of my entire playthrough. Then I fought another prime lucky boss, removed it from the premises, summoned in a beta loot master, sent it right back to the lobby, and continued my quest to get one miracle boss. Hey guys, look, it's another lucky master that doesn't have a miracle variant. Isn't that fun? You guys are having fun, right? Because I am having a fun time. Thankfully, my spree of terrible luck finally ended. Now it's just a matter of getting the right miracles. Yes. Miracle. Well, okay then. Time to start resetting the entire Yeti population down to 0. And to hopefully get Ether Snow to spawn in. Because it has to spawn in soon. Right? But little did I know that everything was going to change because I finally found it. A Gamma Comfrey. It's not Ether Snow, but I will happily take it. So, wasting no time at all, I knocked out Comfrey, taking very good care not to send it to the Shadow Realm, made some unique kibble, and now I have myself a very strong unique. Not because of how much damage it does, but because of how good of a support dino it is. I also had some Compy Paragon Souls just lying around, so I was able to get my Comfrey to Elite tier, and gave the little guy all the stab potions. This is a huge weight off my shoulders because now I don't have to worry about manually feeding my dinos health potions. So I decided to fight another Prime Lucky Master, this one being a Cursed Master, and as the name suggests, this dino is able to apply curses to you and your dino. And if that sounds like it will cause a little trouble, well, my friend, you be correct. Because I somehow got killed off my own dino, which means that Comfrey is now back to Alpha tier, and I don't have any more Compy Paragons to level him up. I do have one quest that gives me 3 Compy Paragon Souls, but that is a steep price. It is what it is though. So day 90 to day 93 was entirely spent completing one single quest. And once I finally completed it, I started fighting several utility bosses so I can get my Comfrey to Prime tier. And at this point, I think I'm done trying to find Ether Snow. So instead, I summoned in all the Prime Lucky bosses, and thanks to my potion compy, this went so much better. Then I fought a Prime Soul Master. In like most of these fights, it wasn't difficult to survive, it was just impossible to hit the man. But thanks to sheer stupidity, I was able to slay this winged beast, hunted down more Sanctuary NPCs, completed even more quests, and finished collecting all the early game set pieces. I started off day 95 by fighting more utility bosses and not getting a single potion boss. But I have to keep going, so I hunted down more Sanctuary NPCs. And yes, I did just get a maxed out unique executioner. Thank you for noticing. So, remember when I said my luck was terrible like 3 seconds ago? Well, that was a lie. Can't mess around for too long though, so I started mass summoning in rage bosses, gave my compy a frenzy soul, and now he's sitting at 1.8 million health. Then I fought more rage bosses, used all my master souls to summon in another rage master, and sent him straight to the Shadow Realm. This is all just extra insurance in case something goes wrong in the future, which, if we're being honest, is probably going to happen. Taking a break from the Rage variant, I started fighting some utility masters because I wanted to fight a unique group master real soon. And while fighting the bosses, I was feeling real good about my life So I summoned in a elite brutal boss, trying to get some reverse set pieces, and this turned out to be one of my greatest blunders, because I ended up summoning in a elite rage master, and the less said about how that went, the better. Thankfully, I still had the rage group soul, so I was able to rank up my comfrey, and after some very stressful minutes, I was able to remove the invisible boss from the server. And after fighting several Cosmic Masters, I summoned in the Cosmic Group Master for like the 50th time in this video, and sent it packing. Then I did some 360 no-scopes, and summoned in the Ethereal Group Master, which was a giant jellyfish. Thankfully, I am a master in the art of jellyfishing, and was able to defeat this anti-gravity menace. So now that I had everything I needed to summon in my first unique group master, it's time to get this show on the road. Oh crap. He's so fast! Dude, he looks so sick! Well, that's not good. Yeah, so I might have possibly, maybe, perhaps, forgot that Infinity does crazy torpor, since he is part utility variant, which has the taming variant that makes dinos very sleepy. As you can imagine, this is a problem because I don't really have a way to deal with that torpor. Or maybe I do, because as you can see, the mammoth that I have been slowly working on in this video has an insane amount of health. So my plan is to stay inside the mammoth's bubble and try not to die.
Out of my way, son! Don't stuck!
I mean, this is how I'm gonna do it. This is so not how you're supposed to do it, but I don't care. Right now, this entire run is leaning in the balance of one flimsy tree. I am not summoning in my Starfire until he's down to 1 million. Well, that's one way to beat a boss. So my original plan did end up working, just not the way I intended it to. Win's a win though, and now I can confidently say that I at least beat one unique group master. But that's not the end of this video. Oh no, my friends, because I have my sights set on something bigger. So to kick that plan off, I had to run the gauntlet of fighting all the rage variants. Then I summoned in the master version, sent the group master back to the lobby, and now my compy is ancient tier. Day 97 kicked off with me terrorizing some bloodlust NPCs, and I also got another ensemble medallion, this one having avalanche boots and gifted gauntlets, which when combined made me the fastest man in Ark. Now if only these rage bosses had my level of speed, maybe then they would have lasted more than 10 seconds against the might of Solar. This spree of boss fighting took up the rest of day 97, and on day 98 I summoned in the armada of bosses. Thanks to the efforts of Solar and this potion compy, I was able to deal with the swarm of degenerates. Then I summoned in some alpha loot masters, trying to get an eviscerator, which is a mid-game rage weapon. Sadly though, the cards were not in my favor, so I attempted one last gasp at finding ether snow, but we all know how this story goes. So, faced with only 2 days left in this challenge, I decided to use my ace in the hole, which is the upgrade station. Because my plan was to upgrade my mammoth saddles, which would give me better stats on them, and then I would curse those saddles, which hopefully gives me a lucky or resource variant. Unfortunately, the game ended all of my hopes. So instead, I went right to plan B and summoned in some guardian bosses and sent them right back to the lobby. Then I summoned in some guardian masters and greeted an old friend. The next part of Plan B involved me bulldozing my entire way through the resource bosses, sending the resource group master to the Shadow Realm, and fighting my second unique group master, Indestructus. There it is. 18 billion! This is such a visually pleasing boss fight. Look at this. We are casting an ethereal glow of 1280p. This thing is actually horrifying in first person. Will we get it? Will we get it? Whoo! Now that was something. There was a few close calls with Solar nearly getting sent to the Shadow Realm, and with this victory, I gave the mammoth the Indestructus soul, and now it has 2.2 billion health. So that's it. It's day 100, and we have beaten 2 unique group masters. But we aren't done, because there's still 2 more unique group masters I have yet to fight. But since it is day 100, I am going to declare sudden death. So if I die even once, then that's that. It's over. So after farming all the stimberries and making the mother of all stimulants, I started crafting as many stamina potions as I could, along with some beta potions. Then after reminding these cosmic masters who the true master is, I summoned in the cosmic group master and sent him right back to the lobby. Then I summoned in some nature variant bosses and they met the same fate as well. And to keep things brief, the master versions and the group master both got sent to the Shadow Realm. So now that I have both the nature and cosmic group soul, I am now able to fight Apocalypse. And with a name like that, this is going to be fun. Am I able to beat it? Maybe. But there's only one way to find out. So, everybody, let's do this. Oh, good heavens. I'm afraid to step out. Alright, we're taking it. No! Oh, I had it! No! I was trying to give him a Omega potion. Well, that's that. I failed. And the most annoying part is that I had this fight won. My only mistake and my most costly one was forgetting that you can't place items into a dino's inventory if they have an infinity stone. But what's done is done. And I had so much fun with this mod. And with all the updates coming in the future, I am definitely coming back to this mod. So for now, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy.